Looking forward to when you do make that announcement, my friend. That'll be a good time on the show. I'll give you the floor probably to start the show on that one.
Yeah.
But Inside Out 2, the long-awaited sequel to Pixar's movie Inside Out, which I remember vividly seeing in theaters back in 2015. I remember, and it didn't dawn on me. Catherine and I rewatched the first one last week before the new one came out, and I saw that movie early. They actually had an advanced screening thing for it at AMC, and I saw that movie early, and it was a packed house. It was packed. Think it was sold out, and I remember that movie just being inspiring to watch and seeing the reactions of people all like laughing consistently. Like that felt, I don't want to be hyperbolic, because I'm honestly one of the few people I think that liked Finding Dory more than Finding Nemo. I don't want to say maybe the last great theatrical Pixar movie was Inside Out, because Soul technically didn't get a Pixar or didn't get a theatrical release. So I want to say it was like the last, I would say, complete knockout from Pixar.
I
Inside
agree.
Out 2, though, there was reason to be a little bit trepidatious with this sequel, I guess, if for no other reason than Pete Docter, the director, who I've said for years is the creative genius behind Pixar. He really is. He's the chief creative officer. He's responsible for Up. He's responsible for Inside Out. He's responsible for, I think, some of the most emotionally affecting movies of the company, and also some of the most ingenious concepts of the movies. He's only a producer on Inside Out. He was the writer and co-director of the first movie, or the co-writer and director of the first movie. And it was fascinating to listen to him talk about the collaborative process of writing that screenplay, and his ideas and how it really took shape. This new one is directed by Kelsey Mann, and this is her directorial debut. The only thing that she's directed was this Monsters Inc. short, Party Central. That was the only thing that she's directed, which is one of the more
Hmm.
forgettable shorts that they've done. I'm not gonna lie there. I can't remember even what it preceded. It might have preceded Inside Out, quite frankly. Now that I think about it, it might have preceded Inside Out. But first off, you can tell shit at Disney's bad. They don't even have shorts. They don't even have a short attached to this movie, which I
Okay,
thought
I
was
was
odd.
wondering if I was like, I know I adjust my time so that I skip the previews, but I'm like, shit, did I miss the short? I don't know.
You know what I hate to say, and it's because they're doing everything they can to bump up that catalog on their streaming service, but a lot of that stuff is now going to Disney Plus.
That's what I
Or
think.
or a lot of those concepts like Forky, like he has a bunch of shorts on Disney Plus. So a lot of those concepts that were going to be eventually used for like a short film have turned into like mini series of like 4 minute shorts on Disney Plus, and they release a whole season of them at once for you to turn on and have your kid be entertained for about like 20 minutes or something.
They
Hmm.
haven't been especially memorable recently. Elementals last year, if you remember, was this really crappy up short, Carl's Date,
Yeah.
which I thought was a real bastardization way to do Up. And to make, like, after that movie and that beautiful movie, to then make it about the old man getting a date. I don't care if it was like 7 minutes long, it was still stupid. But Inside Out 2, though, really feels like an event unto itself. This is a movie, a high concept animated movie, a fantasy that really beams with color and life and imagination. And above all else, because it's not perfect, I don't think it's as good as the original Inside Out. Few movies are, but I think with this sequel, I think even because I've seen some people be more significantly critical towards this thing, and I guess I would say this: it might not do things completely different from the first Inside Out. It's structurally very similar, but what it does really well is the hardest thing it probably could have done. It was its biggest challenge, was to communicate anxiety and the effects of anxiety to young children and also make it relatable for adults. That's a hard thing to do. And I think this movie knocks it out of the park. I think the hardest thing this movie had on its plate, it accomplishes beautifully, and that's a big credit to the screenwriters Meg LeFauve and Dave Holstein, for what they were able to do, not only with creating a character of anxiety that was believable, villainous, but also likable in a way, understandable, And I also think I'll talk more about it later too, but I also believe that when it's all said and done, Maya Hawke does an outstanding job as Anxiety. I think is the voice. I think it's one of the best voice acting performances, if not the best that I've seen so far this year. That's how I'm setting the table for Inside Out 2. We'll go Dom and then Joe. General thoughts on Inside Out 2.
I very much enjoyed it, and had no doubt that this would do well in theaters, critically, and at the box office, simply because this is the most millennial coded, emotionally, conscious movie. The original was too, and that's why it resonated so well. This is just an not to say making movies is easy, but this idea, it feels so damn easy to just churn out ideas and stories and plot lines, right? It's such a straightforward idea that it's like, no, you stick to this. This is a little girl growing up, and all the metaphors are just in her head, and it's all visual metaphor, right? That's it. That's literally mechanically what it is. And it's life lessons in emotional development. And that, goddamn, how many times has Pixar made us cry since its inception? This was very much built for that. Did I cry at this movie? No. There very strong emotional scenes, absolutely, and I appreciate them. And maybe this is just me getting older, right? But still, certainly, I very much appreciate it for continuing to honestly just make conscious these emotional concepts, such as, of course, anxiety, but other things too, such as staying true to your sense of self, and being conscious of the world around you, etc. But I'm just really glad that I'm just glad that Pixar was able to deliver something good. Because I'm definitely been at that stage now, and again, I'm older, right? So I'm not as into it with Pixar as I used to be, and I never will be, probably. And that's okay. But I'm definitely at that stage with Pixar. My relationship is like, okay, it's not a sure bet anymore. We're all a little bit nervous now. But and then and maybe that was always going to happen inevitably, but this is certainly something I very, very much enjoyed, with all of these new characters, and we can get into some critiques of those new characters, or at least how the movie handles them. But for now, very, very happy about this movie.
Yeah, I think everybody was a little burned by Lightyear. I think everybody was a little bit burned by Lightyear a couple of years ago.
That was the big one.
That movie still pisses me off. That movie,
let me say,
that's probably their worst. It's probably their worst.
It made me so sad to see the reactions from it. I personally just chose not to see it because I didn't have the time, and I'm like, I guess I'm not gonna spend any time on this. So I can't judge it. I cannot judge it. But
I watched it on a flight home with a couple of friends, and one of them was telling me, like, dude, I actually really enjoy that movie. Like, tell me what you think of it when it ends. And I just sit there and bite my tongue and be like, holy crap, man. And I'm like, this was bad.
I said I went back when I was writing my review Inside Out 2. I wanted to hyperlink my review of Lightyear because I briefly mentioned it in my review, and I went back and I love when I'm harsh, when I go back, and one of my opening line of the review is Lightyear isn't a compelling origin story, nor is it good enough to be Andy's favorite movie.
That's brutal.
That thing sucked. Joe, what say you though about Inside Out, a good movie? Inside Out 2, a good movie.
So when they announced that Pixar was gonna start doing more sequels based on their franchises, it made me a little scared. Because we've known Pixar since we've been growing up to just do original movie after original movie after original movie. Very rarely did we get a sequel. Hell, we had to wait a decade to get Toy Story 3. We didn't even think that was going to happen, honestly, at one point as kids. We were just like, all right, it's just Toy Story 1 and 2. We now are in a new age of Pixar where it's half of it is original movies and half of it is sequels. And lately, I would say, as we were going into college, our age group right here, they started doing some sequels. They did Finding Dory. Steve, unfortunately, I'm not so hot on that movie. I'm sorry. I don't think it's as bad as everybody else makes it out to be sometimes. I think it's fine for what the movie is and everything. I do think Incredibles 2 is pretty solid. I wasn't crazy about Monsters University. and I never liked any of the Cars movies, so don't even get me started on 2 or 3. So there you go. So hearing that they were gonna double down and start doing more sequels, I was like, well, I mean, like honestly, the best sequels from you guys have just been really the Toy Story movies. Yeah, you know, like some of the other ones, I'm like, they're good, they're really good. But it's like it made me concerned because the batting average was kind of like not that good, honestly. With Inside Out 2, I can safely say this. It is really good. It is definitely on that same level that I would put Incredibles 2, or even to like Steve's extent, Finding Dory, even how much he enjoys it and everything, like, because those movies I still think are well liked. It's just there is like some fair criticism towards them that I've seen often online. For me, Inside Out 2 is definitely up there. Even in like the top 10 of Pixar movies, because I just think it's no, not top 10, like top 15. If I had to put it, like, it's on the better half of the Pixar movies, I would say. And it's mainly due to what Steve was saying. It took concepts that, are pretty deep, are pretty mature to teach a kid. And they not only made it entertaining for a kid to learn, they made it entertaining for us to learn as, young adults or even older adults. As I was saying,
who probably also need to see it as well, who need to learn these concepts as well,
who need to understand that, yes, anxiety is a real thing. It's so amazing to see Pixar is able to still do this. And Inside Out is like, I mean, that's just like even Dom was saying, this is a setup for them to succeed, man. It's like, wow, okay, like they're literally, Pixar is going to take the idea of emotions, make it at a level that anybody can understand because they're aiming it towards kids, and they're going to knock it out of the park because that's what, that they're so good at that. This brought me back as I was watching it, especially hitting those emotional beats. And I do have some criticisms towards this movie, but especially the emotional beats of this movie brought me back to thinking, now this is the classic Pixar I remember. Like, this is what, when I watched Soul, I was like, okay, that's the Pixar I know. I loved Turning Red as well. It was one of my favorite movies that came out that year, but I will admit, like, it's not as good as some of the other Pixar movies. This, though, I was like, okay, this is more what I'm talking about. If they can keep doing this consistent thing, and if they want to make sequels and they could put this amount of level and detail into them, I'm down for that. And it really does, as we've been all saying now, it comes down to, the character of anxiety. I also agree. I think Maya Hawke does a fantastic job in this role. This is probably one of my favorite voice acting performances in any Pixar movie. I think she does incredible. And I think the character design of anxiety, I mean, the character designs for all of them, I thought were always great, even the original film. But these new emotions too, I really enjoyed them. The one thing I love about anxiety is that she's got like the frizzled hair, but also she has Muppet teeth compared to everybody else who has normal teeth, which just gives her that much more craziness look to her. And the way they animate her and everything, and how she like moves around, and how she is faster than most of the other emotions is great. I love how embarrassment, and funny enough, is the biggest emotion in the room. Like just kind of drawing more to that. It's all the animation in this movie, and all the little details they do, and little like jokes like stream of consciousness and sarcasm and many other things too. I thought like, hey, like these are like these are on the nose, but the way you're animating it, it's really creative, and I'm actually really enjoying this. Like I'm having a lot of fun watching it. I can get into critiques later, but that's why I'll stop there on positives. But overall, yeah, man, I really had a good time with this movie.
Somebody joked and said Inside Out 3 is going to be revolving around Riley in college, and she's not going to be, Joy's going to completely disappear, and nobody's going to know if it's because she's depressed, she's on birth control, or it's the state of society.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
You said it during 2016.
I thought that was fun. I thought that was funny, but yeah, everybody remembers the core 5 of the original cast. There was joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. Initially, Pete Docter said it was going to be joy and excitement, but then they realized that they were too similar, so they had to come up with another one. And it was the one of the producers who said, "Do disgust. You need like an as if emotion." And that's how they came up with disgust. The new emotions are envy, voiced by Io Edebiri, who's having a hell of a run here the last couple of years.
Oh my God.
There's ennui, which I think is awesome that ennui is one of the emotions. And is like a disaffected French youth, played by Adele Exarchopoulos. I butchered that name, but I said it confidently. Embarrassment is Paul Walter Hauser, even though he doesn't say too much. I think it's wonderful that Paul Walter Hauser is the voice of him.
He
And
really
then
is.
and then you have Anxiety, who's Maya Hawke. So those are your new characters. You have Lilimar too, who's the voice of Val Ortiz. This is a hockey player that Riley looks up to, a high school hockey player. Because the whole movie's set at a weekend hockey camp, which is when also coincides with Riley hitting puberty. Also, this is totally random and not even worth mentioning. When the fuck did she become blonde? That was the first thing I noticed having rewatched the original Inside Out. She was brunette in the original.
Maybe it was like a dirty blonde.
I thought it was a Dirty Blonde too.
Okay, I'm colorblind. I am colorblind after all. I am colorblind after all. Now the fear emotions running around in my head like, you colorblind son of a bitch. Anyway, though, no, I think the screenwriters here deserve a lion's weight of credit. Meg LaFavor and Dave Holstein, because they thoughtfully illustrate and personify these complex and often debilitating emotions like anxiety. And you got to think the target audience is about Riley's age younger and younger too. They're on the precipice, if they haven't already, of experiencing these kinds of feelings. And I think the position, the age of Riley was always interesting to me. She's 11 in the first Inside Out. That's an age you don't see a lot in movies. It's usually 10, it's 13, it's 15, it's 18. You don't get 11 very often. And 11's a weird fucking age. And then in this movie, she's 13, I believe. And so she's like right on the cusp. She's right, like just becoming a teenager, about to make that transition from middle school to high school, which is, as we remember, a fucking leap. You know, no matter who you are, it's a leap.
It's literally that summer between 8th grade and high school.
It really is. Back and better than ever, Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube on this Wednesday evening, a little tardy. Everything technology-wise today, I'm like King Midas's idiot brother. Everything I touch turns to shit today, as far as technology is concerned, to employ a quote from Inside Llewyn Davis. But we are here. We are back after our 2-week summer sabbatical. I'm Steve Pulaski, joined as always by my inadmittable co-host Dominic Guanzon and Joe Viso. I apologize for the guerrilla-style videography. I'm on my phone, so hopefully I'm coming through pretty clear. Not so much visually. I don't really care, but as long as you guys can hear me pretty clearly, that's what counts for me. Yeah. As far as that's concerned. But good to see you gentlemen today, and looking forward to a great show, because we are talking Maxine today, which is a trilogy that we've followed really since the inception again of Sleepless with Steve. This has been a trilogy we have reviewed now into completion, each installment on the show. So that's why I'm really looking forward to this show. And of course, Maxine as well leaves us with no shortage of things to talk about, from the cast to the story to maybe not the third act we quite thought. We'll get into that as well, too. We're going to touch on that. And then I also wanted to end to, I know we kind of briefly touched on this toward the end of the show a couple of weeks ago, but the Save AM Radio Act as well. Preserving AM radio access in vehicles, that will be our closing topic tonight. Not going to go too long on that, but do feel it's important to bring up. Other than that, though, that's my attempt at a short-winded intro for a change. Dominic, how are you?
Doing all right. I've really missed the show. I've missed going to the movies. And you guys really are the movie goers, and I am someone who's very limited. I've really noticed this. I really, like, pound for pound in terms of quantity, have not watched that many movies, have not played that many video games. It's just that the things that I really like, I hone in on and I freaking obsess over. And but still, good to be back. And yeah, Maxine, this has been a journey for us, so I can't wait to get into it.
Likewise. Joe, how are you?
Doing good. 4th of July.
You are Knuff, too. You are Knuff. I want to let you know.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I would say thank you, Barbie, but you were just another fellow Ken. Yeah, no, 4th of July has been crazy. The getting ready for our July 3rd festivities in the community that I work for, that took basically the whole day. But it turned out to, like, hey, it was like one of our best years. We had a lot of food trucks. We had a amazing fireworks show. two great bands got to play, all this stuff. So it was like, hey, it all worked out. The thing I like about my job now compared to the park district I was at is I would I would basically be working from morning till night. But with the job I have now, I basically worked like during my normal shift hours from 8 to 4:30, and then I helped out a little bit more till about 6, and then basically I just had to show face and kind of just be around in case if someone needed anything. So I just got to sit down and just enjoy the show while the park district handled everything and the village side did basically just, everything else in the morning and handled all that stuff. Now the park district is just taking their turn on it. So yeah, that was good. It very fun night there out in Lisle. Had a great time. We'll be announcing something next week for the show about my job and everything. Some people probably already know if they're watching right now. They probably saw on LinkedIn. They're like, hey, wait a minute. How come your job is posted? And so, yeah, I'll be sharing that stuff next week. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I had a good break. Got to catch up on some movies that I've been wanting to see in theaters and everything. Got to buy some movies as well. I bought Oppenheimer, Pearl, and Top Gun Maverick because Target is having a 3-for-1 sale. And then in 2 weeks, Amazon will be having theirs, or next week. So I'll probably pick up 3 more movies, even though I have no more shelf space for anything. And we'll have to buy a new shelf probably on Amazon for Prime Day as well. But yeah, that's it for me, basically. Very much looking forward to talking about the movie we got tonight and like just, regularly going back to the movies again and again.
I'll tell you, too, today was a very good day for physical media, not just because of what you bought, but because Warner Brothers sent me a copy of Challengers on Blu-ray today.
Ooh.
So that'll be on
the exact same reaction.
That'll be on our Vudu very soon. Be on our Vudu very soon. Yeah, Warner Brothers been sending me a bunch of stuff. They sent me Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla. What is it? Godzilla and Kong.
The New Empire.
Yeah, the New Empire. The silent X stumbled me again. That's what it was. But they sent me that one as well a couple of weeks ago. We got Challengers today, so that's pretty exciting as well. So very good day for physical media, contrary to popular belief. But to this, I don't want to take a ton of time of this, and I am usually the last person to bring this up. We always joke that Dom is the political one on the show. I'm the one over here that when coworkers are talking about the debate, talking about the presidential debate, I'm like, these politicians don't fall from the sky. Everybody on Twitter is all bitching and everything now, and everything about this was funny because this happened when we were on the break, the presidential debate, which I'm not going to get into it. You've seen it. It's fucking embarrassment. But on Twitter, I saw on Twitter and my Facebook, everybody's like, oh, getting ready to pour a cocktail and watch this presidential debate. Oh, getting ready to drink and cry at the state of the country. These politicians don't fall out of the sky. These are the people you evidently wanted, a senile codger and a felon. That's your choice this November. Happy voting. Anyway, so clearly I'm not the one to get into politics. Really, and I usually roll my eyes at these text campaigns and things like that. I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to them or anything. I'm very cynical in this realm, and I'm not saying that's right to be. I'm not saying to adopt my mindset. It's just how I've been. But this is something that's close to my heart and obviously close to my career too. If it's a two-way race between who's trying to fuck me out of a job, AI or car companies. And this is the latest right now. There is a bill going through Congress, and it's actually one that's got bipartisan support. Shocker. It's the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. This bill would require the Department of Transportation to issue a rule that requires all new passenger motor vehicles to have devices that can access AM broadcast stations through their standard equipment that comes in the default version of the vehicle. So essentially what this would do then too is mandate AM radio in cars. The big thing now with a lot of companies switching or prioritizing electric vehicles or EVs as they're known, there's something, and I'm not an engineer, it's clearly, so I don't understand the full nuances of this, but how I understand it is there's technology in EVs that conflicts with AM radio signals, which is why a lot of electric vehicles have abandoned AM radio. This bill would require vehicles to have devices that can receive signals and play content transmitted by AM broadcast stations or digital audio AM broadcast stations installed as standard equipment. This has become a sizable movement over the last 2 years, and it's gaining steam now because if you listen to the radio, or like me and work in radio and listen to the radio about 8 hours a day because you're kind of a confined listener, urging people to text AM to a specific number. It's AM to 52886. That's AM to 52886 to urge your congressional leaders to get on board with this bill. Because AM radio, I know kind of colloquially, and it's true, it's known for political and sports talk predominantly in this modern day and age. But AM radio is also, and we're movie guys too. So if you think about it, AM radio in general is kind of seen as the last bastion of communication when everything else goes dark, because radios are often battery operated. They work in power outages. Even your car radio does too. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like the last bastion to receive information in times of calamity. And working in radio now, working in commercial radio now for 6+ years, we have the EAS system that goes off during severe weather, the emergency alert system. AM radio not only provides free entertainment, whether you're looking for political talk, sports talk, or even sports coverage. I know the AM station that I work for, we broadcast every Chicago Cubs game out here. And so it not only provides entertainment, but it provides what I consider to be a valuable service. And the emergency alert system too. One of the reasons, and I've made this joke before, you guys know what it sounds like and everything. You've heard it either in radio or just in your cars. The emergency alert system works off of amplitudes on the AM spectrum too. That's why it sounds kind of garbled and processed. I always say, I'm like, it's 2024. Why does the EAS sound like it was recorded in a tin can? There's a purpose behind that, though, because it's supposed to transmit a large audio file to AM and FM stations quickly before a tornado or severe weather or something impacts. Yeah. So there's a purpose behind why that audio is relatively in poor quality compared to what you're used to hearing, especially on FM frequencies. Long story short, I think AM has a purpose. I think AM radio has a purpose. I would hate to see it not be an option in vehicles too. I understand, I'm not blind to it. I understand people have satellite radio. I understand people have phones and can look up information like that and get it directly to their phone. I'm a big fan of access. I've said this on the show and in my reviews in the past. I'm a big fan of access, be it to content, be it to movies, be it to shows, and vital information too. I love being able to Google something I just figured out and have all the information at my disposal. I think AM radio needs to be an option in vehicles, and that's why I bring this up here. So if you feel the spirit move you, I would say text AM to 52886. They make it very easy. I've done it before. I've gotten other people to do it as well. Catherine's done it. A lot of people have done it too. You guys have done it. It's very easy. You guys can attest to. It auto-fills a letter that you can immediately send to your representatives. Yeah. All you have to do is hit send. The only thing I added in my letter was that this was coming from a program director specifically. So you can send a ready-made letter to your congressional leaders. They make this very, very easy. I just want to say that just texting AM to 52886 doesn't do the job. You actually have to click the link and hit send the letter, and then it'll go from there. But that's what I wanted to say. You guys, like I said, we obviously did college radio together. We met through radio and things like that. Anything you want to add, I'd be all ears for if you want to start, Joe.
Yeah. I'll go off of my professional side. I work in government, and I worked with FEMA. I worked with the Homeland Security in DuPage County. AM radio is very important to those two organizations. It is their last line of defense of getting communication out there. It is actually their first line of defense too. It's the thing they hit first and they'll hit last with any disaster or any incident, any emergency they need to get out there. Like, we can always rely on these cell phones and everything and the internet, but I mean, we've experienced outages. We've seen Facebook go down. We've seen, AT&T, Comcast have networking issues in your area, all that stuff. we've seen that happen. AM radio is something I don't think I've really ever seen that happen, unless if it's something within the broadcast studio itself. It's nothing on their end. It's nothing with the cables outside. No, it's just something with the broadcast studio itself. And anything, it's resolved like that. Because, it's a physical location. Someone can go there and fix it. It's not, just like, oh, well, we got to trace where the signal's going and then figure out from there, like, where the internet's being cut off at and everything. Oh, the wiring underground is fucked up down here. That's what's causing. Like, it's none of that. So yeah, for me, like as somebody who works in the communications field for government and has worked closely with those two organizations that I said, it should be kept in every car because it's an easy way to access people that are moving on the go who can't look at their phones while they're driving. Like, they can get text messages, they can get calls, and they can be told like, hey, like something's happening and whatnot. Turn on AM radio. You'll figure it out, man. Like, while you're on the move. Shit. I mean, like, not everybody, like, rentals, like, if you get a rental or you're in whatever, you're on vacation and you need to figure out the fuck's going on in the area, AM radio, all that stuff. It should be kept in every car. I very much agree with, the bill. I very much agree with everything Steve said. We're running short on time here. We're about to hit like 5 minutes, I think, from what I can tell. So I'm going to pass off to Dom.
I just know that removing AM radio most likely requires, or it saves nothing, right? It's just a ploy to save some money for car manufacturers. It's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like removing the 3.5 millimeter or 1/8 inch jack on your phone.
It's literally like removing a key off a keyboard. Like, okay, like really?
Yeah, I guarantee you that's what it is. And you'll hear arguments against it, but I really don't buy them. So in that regard, if you want to stick it to these freaking billion-dollar car companies, then to take it from that angle, right? AM's for nerds, and I identify with them strongly. So yeah, man, just it's if the president can have an airplane with every imaginable mode of
communication
communication in the event that nuclear war happens, I think you deserve AM radio, right? So
I like that. Text AM to 52886. That's my spiel. I'll get off my high horse now, and we will get back to movies next week on the show. We got Fly Me to the Moon next week on Sleepless with Steve. TBD if I'm on my phone or my computer or maybe tapping in via AM radio. We shall see. We shall see how that transpires, though. I appreciate you guys putting up with my guerrilla style videography tonight. Joe, I appreciate you running the show as always. Dominic, I always appreciate your insight and contributions to the show as well. Another great show. We got to talk and complete the X trilogy that I know we've had a lot of fun discussing, differing opinions aside. Really appreciate you guys as always. Think it was a great show tonight, and I look forward to another one. Same time, same place next week, 6:30 Central Time, right here on YouTube. Until then, for Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, and yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve. Excellent stuff. I know we're running on time, but I appreciate you guys.
Want to do a call? Or no, good.
Go for it. Okay, that's important. I appreciate you letting me know that. Post it if anything changes. To quote Dominic, what he said a long time ago. Internet should be a public utility, but nobody's ready for that conversation.
Yeah, no problem. They won't have all the bells and whistles of your cool whatever stuff.
Sleepless with Steve Light, LIT. I appreciate it. Fly me to the moon. Looking forward to it. You guys take care. Stay safe. Appreciate you.